So hopefully we are live. Just gonna check my computer and see what's going on. I'm sure there'll be some sort of delay. Let's have a look. Cool. Right, so we've got a really exciting day. It is obviously the launch of the Lumix S1RII. This has been a very long time in the making, and I'm really hoping that it signifies that we've also got updates to the S1H and to what I thought was a really underrated camera, the S1. I think based on the specs that have leaked, and I couldn't help but look at this camera, this S1R Mark II looks incredibly powerful. I'm kind of thinking it would be really cool if there was an S1 at 24 megapixels, but a really high speed camera. Not that this isn't going to be high speed, but yes, those are my initial early thoughts. I'm going to see how we're getting on stream. So something's gone wrong with that. Let's have a look. Take that off. And yeah, so we're just going to be showing you my live reactions. So you got to bear with me today. I don't usually do live streams through OBS. It's rare, so I'm probably going to be tripping over my feet a little bit. But we'll get through it. The launch of this product is at 2 PM, I believe, GMT. See how we're getting on. Got 3 people watching, so hi to those 3 people. If you do leave any messages in the chat, I'll try to respond, but let's have a look. Is it even working? So if anyone's watching, leave something in the chat and I'll see if I can get back to you. I think it's just gone a bit dark in here, so I'm just going to stand up a second and put a light on. I was hoping it'd be natural lighting, but UK, so that's what happens. Won't be a sec. Right, that should be a little bit better. Focus, there we go. So I'm actually shooting this on the S5 Mark II. Now, if you're wondering how I'm doing this as a webcam, simple. I've got a video about this on my channel. It's just a video capture card, about £15 from Amazon, HDMI into that, and then that into a USB port. And hey presto, you can use your S5 II as a webcam. So you possibly wouldn't need to get the S5 IIX if you didn't need the rest of the features in that camera. So I think to start off with, let's have a look. I will bring up the specifications from mirrorless.com. So let me go and find that for you. So this is going to be awesome. I'm so excited, like 6 years in the making. I don't mind long turnaround times necessarily, but with a company like Lumix, it can be a little bit nerve-wracking because they obviously don't have the same sort of market share as Sony, Canon or Nikon. So when that turnaround time is so long, which might be because they can't afford to churn cameras out so often, you start to worry a little bit. And one of the ways I constantly go about getting new kit is to trade in old kit, and cameras are probably one of the fastest depreciating items on the market. So waiting so long for a camera to come out can make you a little bit antsy. So I'm going on to Mirrorless Rumors. Seeing all this Sigma stuff as well. That giant white lens, that looks incredible. A 300 to 600mm f4. Wow. I'm just scrolling through Mirrorless Rumors. Right, so we've got an article on here which lists all the specs, and there is a lot. There is a lot. So I'll bring this up for you. So, starting from the top, deep breath in. A new 44 megapixel high speed sensor, 40 frames a second in electronic sensor. Just to point out, I shoot wildlife, and the S5 II can do 30 frames a second in electronic shutter. It's a great camera for wildlife photography, to the point where I don't even use my Canon R7 anymore. Really need to get rid of that camera. We got 10 frames a second in mechanical, which is okay. I think 15 would have been cooler, but 10's fine. If the rolling shutter performance is good, that is. 8 stops of image stabilization, 176 megapixel high res mode with a sensor shift, says handheld. So again, I've got a video about these high resolution modes on my channel. It's a tutorial on how to use them and how effective they are. I am going to update that soon as well. At the moment, I'm in the middle of a house move, so it's difficult with so much going on, but I am updating older videos with newer tutorials, so keep an eye out. We have got the 5.76 megapixel OLED viewfinder. I'm very happy with this. I know there will be some people out there saying they would have liked the 9 million dot viewfinder, but I think 5 is fine. On my S1, 5 was fine. It looks quite a bit better than the S5 II, so I think that would be completely fine. 1.5 seconds of pre-capture. I love using pre-capture. If you do wildlife and, for example, you're trying to take a photograph of a kingfisher, then having this pre-capture mode is great. If you don't know what that is, whilst you're half pressing the shutter, the camera is continually taking photos, but it will only save those photos if you fully press the shutter. So it's a really useful way of making sure, if, say, like that kingfisher I just mentioned flew off, when you hit that trigger all the way, you're going to get the shot, or you've got a much better chance of getting that shot. Now, a faster sensor readout would help with something like that as well, because that's one of the rare occasions, birds taking off, where you might get some like warpy stuff going on with like wings and stuff like that. All right, 8K in 30p, so that's fine. To me, 8K is not a huge deal. I much prefer like a 6K at 60, which I think the Z6 III can do. Just correct me if I'm wrong. Hey, you alright, Rhett? Cheers, man. Yeah, so 6K would be ideal for me, and 6K ProRes RAW HQ internal recording, that's pretty intense. Honestly, the S5 II does almost everything I would need. After using a GH5S back in the day with all intro modes, after using and conducting so many tests and so many other cameras, I don't typically like to shoot in all intro at the highest resolutions. I've done so many tests where I've looked at stuff side by side, and for my type of work, it's just not worth the extra amount of memory that's going to have to go into editing that kind of work. You're going to have more memory cards, and it's going to be more demanding on your computer. You can use proxies, of course, but again, that is another step. Saying that, I do like using the proxies that Lumix included in the S5 II and S5 IIX a few months ago. That was really, really useful for certain types of work that I've been doing. Alright, we've got internal RAW video recording ProRes 422 HQ, ProRes 422, plus proxy recording. You can record on external SSD via USB. You've got your frame markers, 32-bit float audio, but is that 32-bit float audio going to be in camera? We'll find out. We have got multi-angle screen, which I think is awesome. I absolutely love the screen on the S1RII and on the A9 cameras. I think they're really good. We have got a body size around the size of the S5 II. That's completely fine. I'm in the tiny group of people that actually think the S1 bodies, the bigger bodies, were great. I loved using those bigger bodied cameras. I used to use a Canon 5D Mark II back in the day, and that was a huge camera. That was bigger than those cameras, so I really like that. Big, comfortable. We have got a weather sealed and ventilated body, which I think is really interesting, because part of me always thinks, how could something be weather sealed and ventilated at the same time? But that's what it says. And my S5 II survived Africa, so you know, that's that is a credit to them. We have got a red record button in the front of the camera, on the corner near the mount, a red tally in front and on the back of the camera, and I think there was a rumoured price of it being $3,300, which just makes it the best value camera on the market, flagship on the market, if that is true. Yeah, so I'm very, very excited. Here we go. So you shouldn't have too much longer to wait now. Let's go over, and I reckon they'll be starting about now. So I'm going to open up the page. They will probably have some trailers and stuff on, as they like to do. Here we go, exciting times. Nice. Good. It looks as though they are focusing a bit more on the photographers, which I think is really, really good. Check one for the rumor sites. Nice. So I'm very glad that they've led with photography. I know they're video-based cameras, but they need to get in on the photo side of things. Very excited about this. Nice. Not as cool as the Leica monochrome though. Not bad. You're already the best. Yes, I am excited about the new colour profile ret. Not sure about completely redesigned, but it's a very nice design. Yes, thank you. Sweet. Can use my CF Express cards again finally. Send me to the mountains in Nepal. Looks like she's carrying the 24 to 105. My personal goat lens. Nice. .6K 60 would have been cool, but as long as we get 4K 60, I'll be very happy. Good. There we go. So not internal, but still great. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, the 8.1K and the 7.2K, I'm glad we've got them. They kind of have to do it considering Nikon and the rest of the competition, but false colour excites me more. I'd rather some higher frame rates in 4K and even 6K. That's pretty neat. Does Sony have something like this? Because crazy if they don't. Finally. Hi, Max. I'm super excited that they got tethered recording in. I'm sure that's like the photographer equivalent of having the false colours. But I don't know how much you could really say about it. But it is cool to see that in there. I've took one of my earphones off now because it's hard to hear everything. I think Frame AIO is really good as well. I've not used it myself yet, but I can see a lot of use for that feature, so that excites me as well. Very, very happy to see Lumix have started to appeal more to the photography side. I've always thought they're strong photography cameras, but they don't emphasize it, and they really need to start jumping on that. Nice. I think this got leaked right at the last minute. I'm curious to know if they've redesigned the back dial, because I find it's quite easy to knock, and I wasn't sure if they had sort of slightly redesigned it. So I hope they have, because that would be a nice, like a nice cherry on top. Wow. Nice. Exciting. So essentially the rumours were all right, and yeah, it's a good bit of kit. I want to know the price. I really think this hints nicely at what will come in an S1H2, which I do think is on the way. Thank you. Oh, come on, UK. So I'll be looking at Wex probably. I use Wex in the UK. I'm really curious. We tend to have extra tax added on in the UK, so I don't want to be, you know, if they can get it for 3,300 in the UK as well, I think with a couple of years of saving and trading, I might be able to get this camera. As somebody who's gone massively into wildlife photography as well, I now desire a camera like this, essentially, something with good shutter and good video capabilities. I'm sure when the S1RII comes out, it will blow this camera out the water in terms of video specs, but this has everything I would need inside of it, which is really cool. Nice. So right now it's referring to the Lumix, not Lumix Lab, Lumix Flow, where you can create like storyboards and things like that, which I think is really useful. Don't know if it's something I'll be using myself very much, but I do think if you start using some of the features, you know, that they include, like Frame AI, Frame IO, once you start using them, I can see them becoming quite a crucial part of your workflow, and I think this could be as well. For me, I like to scrawl on paper, so a little bit old school like that. I like to just scroll my notes and scripts and shoot plans and that just on paper. I find it helps me remember stuff better, so I probably wouldn't use this feature very much, but I'm glad it's in there. I'm really curious to know if there was anything else leaked. There was some other photos that seem to have been leaked, but I don't know the validity of that. It looks like it could have been a G camera, so I don't know if that's something that's going to get announced today as well. I personally don't see why they would do that, because it would kind of take the thunder away from the S1R2, so we'll see. Nice, nice. Thank you. Confirm 4K 120 no crop. Nice. This is all I wanted on the S5 II. I just wanted 4K 60 on the S5 II, and I was disappointed that they didn't do. It's almost a perfect camera for me, the S5 II. And looking at the specs on these cameras, I do wonder how the S5 range will sort of evolve post this camera, because I don't need every single bell and whistle. It's almost got everything I need. 422, 10-bit, vlog, Slightly better autofocus would be nice. And I also think we really need 60p without a crop, so I think that will be on the way. Not in this iteration, that's like they couldn't physically do that, but on an S1RII maybe. "4K 120 uncropped." Nice. I was never sure about that. That's great to hear. I'm sure camera conspiracists was always saying that you didn't get the dual IS, so I wasn't sure about that either. So I am glad that that is confirmed. I mean, I've always found the IS really good. I used the Sigma 150 to 600 for wildlife, and if you look at my previous video, some of that it was on a tripod, but I'd zoomed in to the equivalent of almost 2,000mm, and the IBIS was damn good. So it's been asked about the high-res photo mode. Again, I know high-res modes have been poo-pooed by Tony Northrup. It's one of the things that really frustrate me, because when he had the opportunity to make a video comparing different brands, he didn't include Lumix, which really bugged me, because he had historically always poo-pooed that technology, and it is mostly found in Lumix and OM cameras. So it felt a little bit like a snub. They also do the best iteration of IBIS. They also do the best iteration of high-res. Unlike all the other brands Tony had used back then, it's the only one that can spit out a high-res image and a standard image, just in case you miss the other photo, and it can do it in RAW and JPEG at the same time. It is the best version of the technology in any camera system available. I want to see some more videos and photos of the camera. So day one, raw editing support and tether support for Capture One. Very, very useful. I really want to know about flash as well, because Lumix cameras are historically more video based. I found the amount of options for getting flash to be a little bit limited. So I would like to know if there's been any updates there. I think Lumix could possibly redo their own flashes. They've had them in the past, although Godox makes some really great flashes, so we'll see. So he's currently sort of billing this as the ultimate high-res camera. I've got this feeling that they are not going to reiterate the S1, unfortunately. I do think there is potential there for a 24 megapixel, really high frame rate camera, but it probably makes more business sense to have the S1H2 for the videographers and the S1R2 for the hybrid users. It does make the most business sense. I don't think the S1 sold that well, so just a pretty standardised flash sync speed, we've just been told, so 1 to 50th of a second. No low pass filter. I personally would have liked it. Okay. So I think he's probably just going to retread old ground there. So what I'll do is put back to camera 1, pause this. So really exciting. So essentially all of the rumour sites were right by that point. So we have got up to 8K recording, only up to 30p. Again, doesn't really bother me. I would have liked to seen 60p pushed a little bit further, 6K pushed a little bit further. I do think that would have been really useful. Again, it's not something I'll probably use very much. My main thing is, and I'm going to make a video on this, I have a checklist which I've been trying to sort of get through in my head. Something that I want to get from a camera. I don't need everything. I don't need 8K or 12K. I don't need to shoot at 500 frames a second. I don't even really need all intro ProRes RAW. What I do need is to be able to shoot in 422 10-bit, to have a log profile, 4K 60 frames per second, and I think that's about it. From a photographer side, I wanted high burst rates, obviously. The S5 II can currently do 30 frames a second in electronic shutter. Even though the rolling shutter is quite slow, I find it quite usable. Much better than the Canon R7, which looks like a complete tray of jelly. So a slightly faster sensor would have been cool, and so would... I don't realistically need to shoot at 40 frames per second, but I'm happy with 30. The S1R essentially does everything I would need it to. So Sean had just spoke about the need for a low pass filter. So for those who don't know, a low pass filter, or an OLPF, it goes on the lens and it helps reduce things like moire. Moire is if you've got some clothing on with lots and lots of little stripes, you'll get this weird sort of pattern going on. Well, Sean had just said essentially that with a high resolution sensor, then you're less likely to run into those problems. So we'll have to see that in testing. It'd be awesome if I could get my hands on this camera. So if anyone's out there and they want to send it me to review and to test, be greatly welcomed. And yeah, overall I think it's great. It's when I started in my journey, I really needed a video camera. I started with a Sony Mini DV camera, like an A1E. I can't remember what it's called. Graduated from that to a 5D Mark II. I say graduated, it's more of a lateral move, and that's because cameras cost so much at that time. But in that time, which is probably just over 15 years, my love for filmmaking, it's somewhere along the line, probably because of owning that 5D2, turned into a love of photography. And then gradually that evolved into a love for wildlife photography. So now my personal needs are for a hybrid camera, something that can do really good photos and really good video. And I think the S1R does that. I'm extremely curious to find out what this is going to retail for in the UK, because $3,300 is an incredible price. It is the best value flagship camera on the market. If you watch my channel, this is a message I keep repeating with Panasonic. They are the best, most bang per buck cameras on the market. They're not the best at everything, but the value you get, it just can't be beaten. And I think the reason for that is they need, you know, they are the underdogs, so they have to punch big, and they do punch big. For me, I'm in the middle of a house move, so I probably won't be getting this soon. And because of that house move, I'm also dipping back into doing freelance work. So I'm going to have to look and see if I can get just a few bits and bobs on the side to pay for stuff for the house realistically. So this camera for me might be a little bit down the road, but hopefully in a couple of years time I'll be able to pick one up. Oh god, that makes me sad. I can trade stuff in towards it if I want to, but we'll see. I'm very excited for it, and I am excited for the future of Panasonic. I'm also hoping to see if there will be some updates to the Micro Four Third cameras. And here's a big secret. In the last few months, I've been massively in the reads about whether to get a new camera. Like I said momentarily ago, I have this list in my head that I want to satisfy, and I can feel good then. I know I'll have a camera that does everything I need it to. And because of that, I started looking at things like the Z6 III, but it doesn't record dual memory card slots, which in video, which was another thing on my list. And then I started rethinking Micro Four Thirds, and I remembered that I absolutely love shooting on Micro Four Third cameras. Like, they are great. There's nothing you can't really do on them. Sure, we know what the setbacks are. They're not going to be as good in low light, and the depth of field. Honestly, when I look back at some of my old work and some of the memories I have from using that system, I absolutely adore shooting on those cameras. And I don't want any type of brand or camera style to go defunct. I think it's completely silly. I used to work in a shop, and older people would sometimes get the Micro Four Third cameras because they were lighter. So what I'm saying here is I am also considering going back to Micro Four Thirds. So I'm in the middle at the moment, but I am glad to see the future of Panasonic cameras. It's a really, really exciting time. I do think the S1RII is going to come out. I want to know if there's going to be a smaller Micro Four Third camera, because it's prime time to do that, especially with that hybrid zoom technology they just come out with. But overall, yeah, I think that's where we're going to end it today. I will make some follow-up videos. It's very, very exciting, and thanks for everyone who jumped onto the stream. Much appreciated. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon for future videos, and I'll catch you all next time. See ya.